I said, and I do know that there's times where there's conference committees going on and we're waiting on something to come back from the Senate, but there is a lot of wasted time down there. And that's something I think that needs to come from leadership, and that's going to be something that I bring up in our caucus meeting. You know, the speaker is very proud of it being the people's house. And so when they bring in the ball teams and they bring in the, you know, kids from, and it is for the people's house, but we can still do that, but compress some of the things that we do, because when they say we recess, and we're going to come back from recess at 2 o'clock after lunch, and you're sitting, you're there at 2 o'clock and, you know, punching in, and we never really get started until like 45 minutes, hour 15 minutes later. That's a problem. That's a problem. And that can be solved with leadership. So anyway, that was my little fun thing I got to do this year. Some of the things that we went through, we were really proud of our caucus agenda items being pushed through the House and got through the House. And of course, some of the folks in the Senate sort of stonewalled and filibustered and all that kind of thing. And some of it was used in avoidance to getting to other issues. Doesn't that just freak you out? Does that surprise you? Lawsuit abuse reform was signed by the governor. That was, to protect our state businesses from unjustified, debilitating lawsuits. Like the, hot coffee in the lap.
Is there a cap on that?
Yes, there is. God, you had to ask me that. I know there's.
So there is a cap.
Yeah, there.
500,000.
Something like that, and the punitive damages are capped on that kind of thing. So that was the whole thing. This did come from a lawyer, I will say. Oh, that's not real reform. People aren't worried about that. Well, I think businesses look at those kinds of things. So it's nice to have it, in our law. The Bill Wiley Entrepreneurship Act, that was sort of like an angel investment type thing. And Bill Wiley was a legislator who passed away while they were in session last year. But it's funding for our state small businesses by using the tax credits of angel investors. And we're basically rewarding people who are taking the biggest risk by giving them some, if they're going to invest in this, then we need to make sure that they, if they're willing to take the risk, then they can get the credits. There is a specifically includes investments in other businesses, so there are restrictions to this thing, and they can claim up. There's limits to how much they can claim over how much period of time. One thing that I really, this is one of those things that you kind of scratch your head and say, well, gosh, that seems like that should have been there all along. Was the Higher Education Transparency Act. It was passed by the House, and it's now in the Senate Education Committee, and that's always worrisome when they sit in the committees. You wonder if they're ever going to come out. But basically, some colleges and universities were doing this already. Very few were putting their checkbooks online. You can see where this state-supported school is getting money from the state, from the taxpayers, and how they're spending that money. I think that's a good thing. I think more of it now it's going to be required if this law goes through. Then the question is, are we going to pay attention to it? That's the part. People say, oh, it's all online there. Well, yeah, but you never go online and look at it. Nothing's going to be done about it. So that's where kind of, it's a good thing, but we need to act on it. You're given information. If you don't act on it, then what good was it? This agency restructuring, this was something that was really pushed. We went through the House pretty quick and pretty easy, I thought. It was legislation creating the Department of Administration. And this has been passed in the House several times. I think in 2004, 2008, 2009, basically streamlining the whole process so we're not duplicating services. And that's, look at this, Bill number 4145, shortening the legislative session. That's me. We're talking about that. Voter ID. I don't understand it. Everybody's read, everybody's had their opinions in the papers, and we know what's passing, this, that, and the other, and I just don't get it. I don't get it why people get so bent out of shape about, having to show an ID for your vote. It doesn't compete with me. And we say, well, we haven't had reports. Well, how do you prove a negative? But there have been reports in parts. Dead people voting, people showing up to vote. the illegal immigration, was signed by the governor. That was, Bill S-20, that came out of the Senate. Here's something that, this is another one of those amazing things that a lot of people that don't pay attention, and I know this is the choir here, about the lieutenant governor and the governor being on the same ticket. And it just makes so much sense, you know, why would you have a vice president that wasn't the same party and had the same agenda, those kind of things, same ideas. And then we also had the one about superintendent of education being appointed by the governor. And there were some, that this has been approved by the House several times in the past. Well, you think about it, and honestly, you know, let the people decide whether they want to vote on this. Most people will say, well, who is the superintendent of education? They don't know. They don't even care. But they have to realize that this person exercises a lot of power over a large chunk of our budget. So we need to have somebody. Now, I was very glad to see General Zace be elected to that position, and he's definitely for this too. And then we go to the